Down, Fields. There's room to run for Fields. Oh, turn it on to speed.
This is Out High Bear Nation.
Good morning, or rather almost good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us right here on Out of Hibernation on the Undefeated Sports Network. I am Andrew Tarbill. As always, to my left is our guy, Angelo Ace Camacho, and we are back. Week 1 Bears football, baby. How exciting is it to see this rivalry turn a new page, Ace, and really start over?
So there's been one day in my life that I've been more excited for, and that was when my son was born. Justin Fields, Jordan Love, first matchup ever. I mean, we were so used to getting our asses kicked for the last 30 years. And now I feel like the tables are turning. I feel like the Bears have this opportunity to come out, make a statement against the Packers. Truthfully, I think the Bears shouldn't really struggle with this game. They have, I think, the better quarterback, more experienced quarterback. Defense is still a little suspect, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, man. I mean, as you said, you hit the nail on the head right there. Other than the birth of our children, this is one of the most exciting moments for Bears fans. Realistically, as you alluded to, we've got Jordan Love and Justin Fields facing off against each other for the first time in what should be a very winnable game for our Chicago Bears. So how many times have we gone into the season overly optimistic and thought the Bears were going to blow a team out week 1, and then they lose 14-7 or 14-10, something like that, and it takes the momentum right out of the season? However, I don't believe we're going to see that today. I believe that the Bears are going to start out on the right foot. This team's going to come out strong, score a lot of points on offense, and it's really going to be up to the defense to see if they can stop really a weakened Packers team with Christian Watson out. I believe Romeo Doubs is a game-time decision as well. So you take away 2 of Jordan Love's biggest weapons, and I don't see them doing a lot offensively. I think the Packers are going to rely on running the ball a lot. Aaron Jones is a beast, and we will have to be able to stop the run effectively, but we've got a solid revamped linebacking core that can do that. So before we get into the details, let's look at our score predictions for today, Ace. So I'm going to let you go with this one first, Mr. Jordan Love sucks eggs. What is your score prediction for this afternoon?
I got Bears 30, Packers 27. I think it's going to be close to 30 points for the Bears. I'm predicting, we see a little flash of defense, maybe a fumble recovery for a touchdown or a pick 6 on
an interception.
Love.
Would be nice.
Yeah, I think that would Jaquan Brisker, he played really well last season. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he has a pick 6, and that helps boost the score a little bit. I do expect the Packers to score, especially with the run. The Bears, their run defense was not great last season, and I don't know what to expect yet with the new linebackers and the revamped D-line, but, we'll see.
I'm going to stop you there because here's my prediction. I think that the linebacking core is going to play really good today. My only concern for the defense is the defensive line. So obviously we've got Javon Dexter making his first start. We've got a comment here from Facebook user. Facebook user, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and authorize StreamYard to see your name and photo so we know who you are when you comment on the stream.
Or
please and thank you. Or head over to the YouTube channel.
Right. That's the easiest
Bears
way to do it.
85, Packers -6.
I like it.
I love the
I
enthusiasm.
like it.
With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give my prediction. I think this game is going to be 28-21 Bears. I think Justin Fields and the offense come out. They score 4 touchdowns. None of those are field goals. The team looks good. Defensively, I think we give up a couple easy drives early, and then the defense settles in and puts a stop to Jordan Love and the Packers offense. I'm thinking by halftime, we're looking at a 14, I'm going to say 14-14 game. It's tied going into the half. And then in the second half, the defense settles down and only allows one more score while the Bears score 2 and win the game.
Let me be honest. If it's 14-14 at half, I will be a nervous wreck.
As will I.
I really don't want that. I'm really hoping it's like 21-3 at halftime.
That would be great.
And I'll be happy. 14-14 Tarbill. I will lose my mind if I'm just sitting there like I cannot believe that this game is tied right now. How?
I'll be sitting right there with you on the same wavelength. I think the defense has to settle in, and I think it takes at least a half of football for that defensive line to get stabilized and used to working together as a unit. Yannick Ngakoue is going to be a huge player today. If he can get the pressure off the edge that's needed for the Bears defense to rattle and do some more blitzing and things like that, it sets everything in motion. So key for me is Yannick Ngakoue has to perform well on the edge, and then the linebackers have to step up. As much as Jeff Joniak loves Jack Sanborn, I'm not a huge fan of the jackhammer. So him obviously being in that 3 spot, he needs to step up. However, Edmonds and Edwards are both quality players that the Bears were able to go out and get in free agency. And, time and time again, it's this defense always has a hole the last couple of years. Obviously, last season, there were many games where the Bears scored, 30-ish points and still lost. The Miami Dolphins game comes to mind where Justin Fields rushed for 170 yards, and our Chicago Bears ultimately still ended up losing. That cannot happen this year. We have to go out, set the tone early, be tough on defense, be strong up front and in the linebacking core. The only thing I'm not worried about on the defense is the secondary. I believe that our secondary is going to be top 5 in the league this year. Might be a little bit of a bold prediction, but we've only added depth at corner and slot, and I think that corner and safety, and I think that this team will go out and make leaps and bounds on the defensive side of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see, but moving on from defense, man, let's talk offense for a minute, because obviously we saw flashes of DJ Moore, right, in the preseason. Obviously, first game outing there, he had 60-plus yard breakaway on a screen. And in the third preseason game, he had a nice long screenplay run. No, it wasn't a screenplay. It was a pass over the middle. Either way, we have seen DJ Moore's ability early on to go out and make plays. He's a playmaker. He's a big, explosive guy. He's a true number 1 and exactly what our Chicago Bears need at the offensive, on the offensive side of the ball at wide receiver. So looking at our graphic here that you so vicariously made for us, gimme more. 2022, 63 receptions, 888 yards, 14.1 yards average, and 7 touchdowns from DJ Moore. What can we hope from DJ Moore? I hope that DJ Moore has 1,000-plus yard season for the Bears. And I think it's very doable.
I agree.
Obviously, him and Justin Fields have built tremendous chemistry over the offseason, working out together in Florida, doing all these little extra things that weren't required of them by the team. And it really shined in practice at times, really shined in the preseason. That's DJ Moore's going to be Justin Fields' bailout option.
100% agree. So I like your prediction with the 1,000 yards. The last 3 seasons before last year, He was over 1,000 yards all 3 years. And that's with terrible quarterback play. And then last year, I mean, the numbers dipped 888. But you
Jay
had
Walker was throwing in the ball half the year.
Weren't there
though.
3 quarterbacks total last year? Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, and Baker Mayfield
and
all
Mayfield,
played
yes.
for the Panthers last season. So, I mean,
and
if
all
you're
of them played horribly. So.
Right. If you're looking at that quarterback carousel, like I don't blame him for his numbers taking a dip. I do think that this is the best quarterback that he'll play with. We heard all off season about the chemistry and how much, the deep ball is there for more. We watched during the preseason that little screenplay. The dude's going to be a difference maker, and I really hope that, like you said, I'm hoping 1,000 plus, maybe 10 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns. I think that would be a significant impact on this team offensively, and I think it just helps Justin Fields grow as a quarterback.
Totally agree. I know we're on the topic of DJ Moore, but shifting over to the other wide receivers, kind of the dark horse in the room is Chase Claypool, right? So to speak.
Right.
We got to see how Chase Claypool is going to come out and perform. And really, you got to think that Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney are both playing for a contract this year. Whether that be for the Bears or a team that the Bears trade them to, they need to go out and put up solid numbers and get on tape that, they're viable wide receiver options moving forward. So I think obviously Chase Claypool's your number 2 target at this point. Chase Claypool needs to come out, have a big game, set the tone early. And I don't mean he needs to have 100 yards plus. That would be nice. But I would like to see Chase Claypool do what he was brought to Chicago to do. And that's get a couple deep balls early. He's really got kind of a bigger, I don't want to say stockier frame, but he's also a big-bodied guy that can push around some defenders. So I would like to see Chase Claypool come out, have a nice, let's say, 40-yard catch over the top because DJ Moore's double covered or something like that. I think
that's going to be a huge asset also, is the amount of
the
eyes
pressure
that are going to have to be on DJ Moore. Right. You're going to pull the defense to that side. The other guys just need to step up. Claypool last year was, I know he got there midseason. It was definitely lackluster at best. I know you and I had talked plenty about how that it just didn't look like it was working. Then there were the reports in the off
learning the playbook.
Right. Then there were the reports in the off season about, his mindset inside the building. And I'm really hoping to see this guy take this opportunity and run with it. And honestly, 3 catches today for 50 yards would be an improvement from what we watched last season.
Hey, and I would take that with stride. I agree with you. I think, excuse me, I think that it's crucial for Chase Claypool to be successful today, really set the tone early for the offense. And DJ Moore cannot do it all, right? That's the main thing.
Right. And the thing about this offense, last season, we had talked about how, they started to utilize Fields' legs and then they were putting up 30 plus points a game for a while. They were the number 1 scoring. We don't want to do that
this year, right?
Right. But now you have DJ Moore, who's going to pull the focus to him. You got guys like Claypool, Mooney, Kmet, I think is going to have a big season this year. And then you have a running back room that's got 3 guys that are plenty capable. I'm really excited to see Roschon Johnson play. I think that by the mid-season point, he'll be the number 1 back, hopefully, because I picked him up.
All right. I'm going to stop you right there. I love the enthusiasm, but you believe that Roschon Johnson is going to beat out Khalil Herbert for the number 1 running back spot? Is that what you just said here live on our airwaves?
I think there's the potential for that to happen. I think you don't utilize a draft pick on a backup running back in college unless you have high hopes for him going forward, or
right.
you watch something on tape that your guys in the room aren't providing. I think the best case scenario is for that to happen. for him to become running back one, but that also is going to be really dependent on how this offensive line looks.
Big, bold prediction, Ace, and I love it. I think that Roschon Johnson has a ton of potential. I will die on the throne that we drafted the wrong running back out of Texas because Tarbill was a meatball and really wanted to see Bijan Robinson in a Chicago Bears uniform. But ultimately, Roschon Johnson's fresh, right? He's a young guy who didn't really get a lot of playing time, obviously being behind Bijan Robinson, but there are many experts who are saying that if he played for another team where he wasn't behind Bijan Robinson, he may have had similar numbers to what Bijan Robinson put up. So, you're looking at a guy who's dynamic. He hits the hole hard. We saw that a lot in preseason. What's that?
Nothing. Just go.
I know, you're being a smartass.
Yeah.
He hits the hole hard, doesn't shy away from contact, and it's hard for guys to get him down. You saw a lot in the preseason where he was just dragging defenders with him for extra yards, and that's exactly what we need, especially as this offensive line is going to take some time to gel. I think it'll be most interesting to see today how the three-headed monster, as you alluded it to, with Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson, now with Deonta Foreman in the mix as well. It'll be interesting to see how those carries are divided up. For fantasy football purposes, guys, I would almost stay away from the Bears running backs week one just because we don't know what the division of labor is going to be yet. Wanted to throw that out there for a guy like Ace who's got to start Khalil Herbert. Might not be a good week for him. But ultimately, it'll be interesting to see. And if the carries go more towards Herbert today, but Roschon shows some promising things, I think you'll see that division, split more as the weeks go on. So
I feel like when it comes to the running backs, today is going to be a big day for the group. You're going to see who the coaching staff feels is more valuable to the offense, but then you're also going to have to see what guy is able to make the most of the touches. I mean, if Devonta Foreman comes out and he runs the ball 8 times and gets 80 yards, like that's going to put a big spotlight on the other two guys to have to do something, and
if Deonta Foreman comes out and does that, that's going to be a good problem for the Chicago Bears to have, right?
And ultimately, like, why not just run with the hot hand when you have those 3 guys back there? Whoever's running the ball effectively, keep running the ball with that person, and that's one thing that Nagy used to always do. And I know we don't want to talk about him, but he used to take the ball out.
All right, guys, I'm sorry. Angelo has been removed from the chat for mentioning previous coach that was in this organization. I'm kidding. All jokes aside, Ace, go ahead.
I mean, I know we don't like to talk about him and the previous quarterback that we don't discuss anymore, but I feel that Nagy was always overthinking things, and you would have, a good pass down the field, and then he would decide to run the ball,
bubble screen,
right, or run a screen, and like it made no sense. There was no growth to the offense to help keep that type of momentum going.
Get all the way down the field by running the ball,
and then we pass the 5-yard line. Yeah, it's so stupid. So stupid. But that's what I'm hoping that this coaching staff, and I feel like they will utilize whoever the hot hand is, keep feeding that person, whether it's in the passing game or the running game. I think that right now your team is so fresh on offense that there's really so many different possibilities for what you can do.
So before we gravitate away from Matt Nagy, the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Lions in Arrowhead on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy's on the sidelines as the
calling plays, baby.
Calling plays.
Ruined them.
Obviously, Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney both didn't perform as they should have for the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes looking a little lost out there without Travis Kelce. I'll go ahead and say it. Thursday night is exactly how Patrick Mahomes would have looked had the Chicago Bears drafted him, guys. I just want to point that out. So
that's a valid statement.
So for the fair weather fans who are still 5 years later saying that we should have drafted Patrick Mahomes, Thursday night against the Lions is what you would have seen for the last 4 or 5 years from Patrick Mahomes here in Chicago.
I
We
agree.
didn't have offensive weapons. I mean,
we didn't have offensive weapons, a shaky offensive line.
Our defense couldn't stop a cold. I mean, ultimately, I just wanted to throw that tidbit out there, and it's hilarious that Matt Nagy was calling the plays in that loss.
Because
so it's
that's exactly what would have happened. Nagy comes over, he's the coach, destroys Patrick Mahomes, and then we're looking
and Patrick
at
Mahomes would be a backup somewhere, probably. Patrick Mahomes would be the backup on the Steelers.
I don't know if it'd be that bad, but I definitely think that it would have looked very similar the first season with the Bears.
Agreed. Moving on towards our defensive line, we touched on it a little bit earlier in the show that this D line is improved from a year ago.
I mean, it's hard not to be. It's hard not to be improved.
Question here is from worst to average. So last season, 32nd in points per game allowed, 27.2. Number 29 in yards per game, 375.9. And number 31 in
points per or yards per play.
Yards per play. Sorry. This defense has to be better, right?
I mean, how can you be worse?
It can't be much worse, right?
Right. How can you be worse?
When you're last and second to last in two categories and 29th in another. But the acquisitions that they made over the offseason and free agency, looking at obviously Yannick Ngakoue is your biggest move. Going out and getting Walker as well from Tennessee was a solid move by the Chicago Bears. And then you've got a few other names that are in the mix there. Obviously, Gervon Dexter Sr. being your draft pick, as well as George Pickens. What's the other guy we drafted for the defensive line?
I think you're right, actually. Wasn't that his name?
Is it George Pickens?
That doesn't sound right.
Anyways, looking at this revamped defensive line and the defense as a whole, I think we're going to see a much more aggressive take this year. Eberflus was doing some, well, I shouldn't say Eberflus, because Eberflus is a true head coach who doesn't call plays and doesn't, I mean, obviously it's his defensive scheme.
Yeah, Gervon Dexter, you had it right.
Gervon Dexter, okay.
What'd you say? That's what you said, right? Yeah,
Gervon Dexter and who?
Oh yeah, you were looking for the other guy.
The other guy.
That's right. I fumbled that one.
Look at you, Ace. My guy always coming in clutch for me. I appreciate
Zach
that.
Pickens.
Zach
Pickens.
Third
Third round pick. Hey, you never know.
So Zach Pickens, Gervon Dexter Sr., obviously I don't want to say unproven, but two rookies, right? It's your first week in the NFL action. You're getting in the trenches. These guys saw a lot of playing time in the preseason. However, preseason's preseason, right? Justin Fields lit up the Cleveland Browns last year in the preseason when we thought we were heading to the Super Bowl. Not we, but some people did. Ultimately, this defensive line is going to be better, and it's only a matter of time before we see everything click for this Chicago Bears team. I think we'll know where the defense stands in about 3 to 4 weeks. We will know if they're going to be competitive or, it's going to take a small sample size, but we will figure out exactly what this defense is going to be. And the Chicago Bears are the monsters of the Midway. We've been built on defense for ever. I don't even want to give it a year, forever, since, way back to 85. And I think this team's going to get, back to that mean, nasty, tenacious football that they're known for on the defensive side of the ball, except this time the offense is going to be good also, guys. You heard it here first. This is something that we've never seen as Chicago Bears fans, where we've had a good offense and defense at the same time.
Well, let's pump the brakes just a little. I think the offense is going to be better than the defense, but like we discussed, how can you be worse than you were last season? You brought in some pieces, some key upgrades, obviously the linebacker position. You got Jack,
Right.
Ryan Urlacher, Sanborn coming in, and I know.
All right, guys, that's strike 2.
Man, I'm already about to strike out. But then you're looking at a lot of unknowns, like you said, with the rookies. I know you said a couple weeks you'll know what the defense is, but I think you'll have a good idea after today. You're playing a team that
small sample size, too small of a sample size.
I get it, but the next opponent after that is Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Like, you're not going to really see too much, I feel, until we play Kansas City week 3, and there's a potential they're 0-2.
Kansas City's week 4.
Is it week 4? Who plays week 3? Hold on, now I gotta look up
I believe it's week 4.
Now I gotta look.
We got a comment from Brent in the chat. The Bears must win. I absolutely agree. The Bears must win today. They must set the tone.
So
go ahead, Ace.
Kansas City is week 3.
Look at you knowing the schedule better than me. You
know what? Hey, everybody makes mistakes. I brought up Matt Nagy earlier. You thought they were week 4. We'll call it square.
Fair enough. Who is week 4 then? Is it?
They play Broncos.
Broncos. Okay. I had those two flipped in my head. All right, guys, before we get any further into the show, let's take a quick break, and we are going to play for you the hype video that our Chicago Bears released earlier this week for game day today. So go ahead and take a look at this, sit back, and we'll be back with you in about 60 seconds.
The NFL's oldest rivalry, Packers and Bears.
The fiercest feuds go back countless years. This one, 102. It's the longest running rivalry. With every new generation, new legends emerge.
One safety back, 10-point game. Packers throw. Oh, Urlacher with the interception.
Hand off to Perry, crashes the right side. Touchdown.
He's going to run right, and with a burst to the 25-30, opening 35-40. Right side midfield. Got to block that field to the 40, 30, 20, 15, 10. No chance. Goodbye. Touchdown.
Titans of their time, exerting effort and determination for the thrill of victory. But now, the time has come to start a new chapter. Two young teams, eager to leave their mark next to a pantheon of greats who came before.
What a move by Fields. Breaks free the 50. Away he goes. Justin's gone, baby.
Fields, Love, Moore, Alexander, Edmonds, Watson. The feud remains intense and the saga ongoing.
Now, if that doesn't get you hyped as a Chicago Bears fan, I don't know what will, guys. Justin Fields and Jordan Love, the saga begins. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think as soon as I heard Jeff Joniak calling that touchdown run by Justin Fields, instant chills, man. And obviously we want to see the Bears lean on the passing game more this year, but you know Justin Fields is going to be electric with his feet still. And I'm okay with that as long as he's smart about it. Jordan Love fears Jack Sanborn. Look at you.
I'm just having a good time today.
Jeff Joniak loves him, so you're right there with that reference that I just put out. But
yep.
Speaking of Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer, really happy to see those guys transition over to ESPN 1000 and keep covering the Bears. I love what they do in the booth, and I think Waddle and Sylvie at times are going to be joining the booth from what I understand, and that'll make for some interesting conversation this year with the Bears home now being ESPN 1000. So shout out to those guys over there. But ultimately, I think that this is going to be a fun game to watch. And I do believe, as much as we don't want to see it, we will probably see a Justin Fields rushing touchdown. Now, whether that's from the 5-yard line or that's a 65-yard breakaway run where he's just the best athlete on the field, I think we are going to see one of those today. So that's going to be, I don't want to say my bold prediction for the day, but I think that Justin Fields is going to come out. I want to go over stat lines, Ace. So Obviously, we both have the Chicago Bears winning this afternoon, but let's look at the stat lines, specifically yardage, passing yardage. So, do you think Justin is over or under 250 yards passing today?
Well, for them to get to 30, I think he needs to put up over. I think the last time they played the Packers, he had like 275 yards passing or something like that.
274 to be exact.
274. So, I mean, he played that well against that defense last year. It's not much different than it was, except I think, did Rashawn Gary play that game against that?
I think he was out for that.
Yeah, I think he was out. So I think he's back. Correct. I think he's back today.
Yes.
But I can't imagine him playing a whole ton coming back from the injury. So I'm hoping, if he puts up 225, 250, I'd be happy with that.
And how many yards rushing for Fields today?
Well, I have the over of
under 50.
I have the over of 54.5. So I'm going to say let's do 55 just so I hit my over.
Is that part of your famous Sunday 17 legs?
Yep. It's only 10 this time. It's only 10. But
damn it, if all of those legs hit, Ace is going to be rich off of $3, guys. So
no, $1.
$1.
Fucking $28 million. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that much. I wish.
Not that much, but
no.
With the odds boosts and
I am curious to see Fields and how they change up the offense, because I know that they don't want him to run as much, right?
But it's inevitable, right? When he's the best athlete on the field.
Right. I feel like if you tell him, hey, don't run, you're making him think too much. And then it's just going to cause problems. I think the best ability is his legs right now. And that's how you're going to take the pressure. Right. It gives him confidence. We've watched it last season where when the offense was struggling, okay, Fields will bust it for a 30-yard run, and then all of a sudden the offense started to pick up. I think that is going to be a major boost for the offense to just kickstart them in most of these games. Hopefully I'm wrong and he just comes out and slings it, but I think that he's still going to have to utilize his legs.
I'm laughing because I see you keep changing your tagline. Now we have Justin Fields is Jordan Love's daddy.
Yeah.
All right. Bold prediction there, but so in the restart of this rivalry, do you think that this is a fresh page in the sense that this is going to define how, the next, let's say 10 years go, or do you think there's some leftover hostility from, let's say, the last 10 years of Aaron Rodgers doing the discount double check in the end zone and, screaming at fans that he owns us and all of that? How do you view this as a Bears fan? Not as an analyst.
Now,
as a fan, are you willing to kind of turn the page and say, all right, let's start anew, or are we still bitter from the last?
I mean, you're still bitter. It's like the ex-girlfriend that leaves that was just so good, and now she's gone. You're still going to remember and she was like an asshole to you most of the time. You're still going to remember the asshole moments, right? But like,
fair enough.
I'm hoping, hey, you found out, like the Packers are that girlfriend, right? When Aaron Rodgers was there. Now they found a new boyfriend in Jordan Love, and let's hope that it's a complete and total failure, and fair that enough. We can sit back and laugh and enjoy the misery that comes with that. I still want the Packers to be awful, and I hold a grudge because my whole life to this point has been nothing but sadness and misery. And my biggest fear is that Jordan Love is good.
He is him.
Yeah, I might never watch football again if that is the case. But so I would love the Bears to go out there with this attitude, like, hey, we're gonna punch you in the mouth, and we're just gonna show you that we're done with the bullshit that has happened in the past. I want them to go out there, fly around. I want Fields to be doing the Jordan shrug in the end zone. I want it all. I want this to just be
doing the Jordan shrug in the end zone. I love it.
Yep.
So yeah, I I'm right there with you. I think that obviously it's hard to look away from what Aaron Rodgers has done to the Bears. The wounds are still too fresh, so to speak. But we've talked about the statistical improbability of Jordan Love being a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, it's less than 1% chance that Jordan Love statistically is a Hall of Fame candidate quarterback because of Aaron Rodgers, because of Brett Favre. It'll be a damn shame if the Bears come out today and Jordan Love looks like he's the prodigy and things just keep rolling. And I don't even want to talk about it further because I don't think it's going to be that way. But it'll be a rough season for us as Chicago Bears fans if that does indeed happen today. So I want to switch it over to a more positive note, Ace. I think it's time we get into our bare bones segment. And
are you like trying to mock me? I can't understand.
That was definitely the wrong video, but all right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and
hit the
get
wrong
into our
one.
bare
But
bones
still.
segment. We'll be back with you in 30 seconds.
Take to the whistle, man. Let's be great today. Let's be great. Win out 3, 1, 2, 3. Win.
All right, guys, you are tuned in to Out of Hibernation right here on the Undefeated Sports Network. I am Andrew Tarbill. To my left is Angelo Ace Camacho, who says that Jordan Love likes to buy feet pics.
Yep.
That's
I heard
breaking
that.
news here.
I heard that.
Each and every week, guys, we go into our keys to a Chicago Bears victory in our segment that we like to call Bare Bones. So let's get right into it. So number one key to a Bears victory today is Justin Fields. Obviously, Justin Fields has to come out strong, set the tone early, and show that we made the right decision by sticking with him and not moving on from him. Because as we all know, the Chicago Bears gave up that number one pick to Carolina, got DJ Moore in return, but had the opportunity to draft Bryce Young. I'm glad they didn't, because I have my doubts, even as an Alabama fan, that Bryce Young will be successful in the NFL. We've seen it time and time again where those smaller, really, he's a small quarterback. He's 185 pounds soaking wet. He's a little bit on the short side. Those guys can tend to struggle or they're injury prone. You see it right now in Arizona with Kyler Murray being out with lingering injury. So I think the Chicago Bears team, Justin Fields has to come out swinging. First offensive drive, I want to see a touchdown, and I don't want to settle for less. I don't want to see Cairo Santos coming out to try to kick a 40-yard field goal. I want them to drive it down the field and stuff it down the Packers' throats, so to speak. Really set that tone early, be aggressive, be Maulers, be Chicago Bears, man. That's what this is all about today. And Justin Fields, we talked about the stat lines a little bit earlier in the show. If he's over 250 yards passing and the Bears win this game, that's going to shut up a lot of these old Fairweather fans that say that Justin Fields is a running back and shouldn't be the quarterback and things like that. So anybody that's calling for Tyson Bagent to be the starter, I just want to say that is a total meatball take, and he's not even number 2 on the depth chart.
This isn't Grossman and Orton
right
type of stuff.
There's not a true competition going on.
Not even close.
Justin Fields is the clear.
I mean, Bagent isn't even the number 2 quarterback.
Right.
He's the number 3. So
behind Nate Peterman.
Right.
Nate,
and I think is statistically the worst
Peterman.
I think like statistically his QBR is like the worst of any quarterback ever.
He threw 5 picks in 2.5 quarters as a starter.
Yeah. That's terrible.
For
my 9-year-old could probably throw less picks than that.
For the at the time Raiders, right? The Oakland Raiders.
Oakland, yeah, at the time.
Before they moved back to LA.
I don't know why you just moved trash to a different location, but still, I guess.
Number 2, guys, get pressure on Love. We've alluded all show long how important it is for the defense to step up today. Bears defense has to come out, put that pressure on them. It all starts with Yannick Ngakoue on the edge. I probably butchered his name as well, but
No, you said it right. You said it right.
okay. Yannick Ngakoue coming out early off the edge, putting the pressure on Jordan Love. Obviously, the defensive line, we've got to see Zach Pickens and Jervon Dexter Sr. step up and have good rookie moments, not make mistakes. And then that linebacking core has to be solid. As much as you want to say Jack Sanborn's going to be the one that's bulldozing through that hole, I think we're going to see a lot out of Tremaine Edmonds today.
I think so too.
And I think in pass coverage, we're really going to see the benefit of this improved linebacking core. Because both Edmonds and Edwards both are known kind of to be a little ball hawk type linebacker and, be able to help cover in situational breakdowns, things like that. So
yeah, they're a little quicker. They're good at pursuing the ball. I think the game plan for the Packers is going to be to take pressure off of Jordan Love by running the ball. And I think you need to game plan for that, and you need to stuff the run early. And then when he takes the opportunity to throw, you need to get him rattled.
Absolutely.
Without Christian Watson, the deep ball might not be as prominent as I think it would have been if he was playing. And
Romeo Doubs is also, I believe, a game time decision.
Right.
So.
He is a game time. I don't know if he's playing or not yet. But your defensive line needs to get the pressure for, to rattle him. But then also we talked about the secondary and how we expect big things from them. Usually when your defensive line is able to get and generate consistent pressure on a quarterback, it leads to errant throws, and your ball hawking secondary can take advantage of that. And I think the guys that they have in the secondary right now are guys that will take advantage of mistakes. And I'm interested to see how Eddie Jackson plays. He got injured last season. It'll be interesting to see if he still has that same type of ball hawk mentality.
Oh, Eddie will be just fine. I'm not worried about Eddie Jackson today at all.
He's probably going to be bored back there.
He might be.
Unless Aaron Jones comes running after him.
So back to Romeo Doubs real quick. Romeo Doubs is expected to play in a limited number of snap capacity. So he'll be out there for, I'm going to say, probably about 35% of the snaps maybe for the Pack today.
Yeah.
So 65% of the time you don't have Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs. That's going to be a tough hill for Jordan Love to climb in his NFL debut. Moving on to our last bare bones key to a Chicago Bears victory, the offensive line. We've talked about it for years now, Ace. The last 2-3 years on the airwaves together, we've talked about the consistency that the Chicago Bears have lacked there at the offensive line. I think we finally have some cohesiveness on the offensive line. Obviously, Darnell Wright, his first NFL non-preseason start, he needs to come out, protect the quarterback, set those blocks, give Justin Fields a pocket to get the ball downfield, and I think he's going to do just that. Lucas Patrick is starting today, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And he also is a guy who, has praised the Bears organization for bringing him in and changing his family's life, saying a lot of good things about this Chicago Bears organization. Well, now it's time to go out and prove that you are worth bringing to Chicago. So
one of the big question marks, I think, for the offensive line is going to be Nate Davis, right? You signed the guy, and then there was a lot of problems. He didn't practice a whole lot during the preseason. I know Eberflus came out and said that it was a personal thing, and none of the other ones were personal.
Right.
I'm just a little worried. A guy who hasn't practiced much, didn't really play much in the preseason. How are your legs going to be? You know what I mean? Are you just going to get pushed backwards? And that's going to be worst case scenario if that happens.
I'm not too worried about Nate Davis. I think he's a strong vet. He knows what he's doing out there. I don't think he necessarily needed the preseason reps, which it gave opportunity for other guys to get reps out there. So I'm not overly concerned with Nate Davis. I think he's going to come out and be just fine. Braxton Jones is going to be one to watch on the left side of the ball. Is he going to be improved in pass pro? Braxton Jones was a really good run blocker last year. However, he struggled in pass pro. So what are we going to see out of him today? Cody Whitehair, solid. So not worried about Cody and what he can or can't do. I think this offensive line is going to come out and they're going to help our quarterback set that tone early by being aggressive, giving Justin a fully developed pocket, so to speak, and, giving him that more than 1.5 seconds to make a decision to get the ball downfield. I think we see this offensive line hold up today. That's the hope, at least, right? If we come out and Fields is running for his life again, it's going to be a long season for us, boys. So
I got a question for you before we wrap up.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is worst case scenario for today's game? Because, there is a possibility that the Bears lose. And is it going to be, skies falling if they lose, but Justin plays well?
No.
And Jordan Love plays bad? Let's say that they just run all over the Bears defense, right? And Fields plays well, but at the end they lose by a field goal.
So worst case scenario for me, Angelo, is going to be the offensive line doesn't perform well. Justin is still running for his life, so to speak. The receivers drop a ton of passes like we saw in Kansas City on Thursday night that, can just be detrimental to a team. Worst case scenario for me is that Justin's running for his life and he still feels that he has to do it all. Whether the Bears win or lose, as long as Justin Fields and the offense looks good today, I can live with a loss. Not that I'm going to like it. It's going to sting because it's the Packers, but I can ultimately live with it if Justin and the offense show the progression that we've all hoped they would allude to over the offseason. Now, the Bears come out and fall flat on offense. We see 2 or 3 3-and-outs. It's looking rough. It's not looking like what we expected. The Bears don't make it competitive. It's a 28-10 loss. That's worst case scenario for me. What is worst case scenario for you? Are you on a similar wavelength with me, or?
I am. I think worst case scenario would be to see the offense look very unorganized.
Yes.
A lot of penalties, I think, is going to be alarming. I think if Jordan Love comes out and outperforms Justin Fields, that is the worst case scenario. That
Packers suck.
On ESPN 1000, all the radio stations in Chicago, if that happens, it's going to be a long week to get to the Bucs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Ace. I think that this offense has to work. This team has to come out swinging, and if for some reason they don't, it's going to be a long week, as you alluded to get to Tampa, and it's just going to fuel the meathead narrative that Justin Fields isn't the guy even more. So That's worst case scenario, is that we're listening to people on Tuesday and Wednesday talk on ESPN 1000 or The Score saying that they're not sold on Justin Fields. Colin Cowherd will be the first one in the national media to come out and, say my stock's down on Justin Fields 20%.
And then Shady McCoy will have all the ammo he needs to talk smack about him some more on TV.
So ultimately, I think the worst case scenario is the offense doesn't thrive, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the offense, Ace. I'm not worried about a lot. I don't want to say I'm worried about the defense. Obviously, there's questions that remain there. We got a comment from Brent in the chat. Isn't that fair enough? Isn't that fair, though?
What, talk about Justin Fields negatively if he plays? Yeah, I mean, that is fair.
Right.
And that's the worst case scenario, because then you hope that it was just a fluke. But if that carries over into the rest of the games, now you put your team in a situation where instead of being able to focus on other parts of the draft next season, now you have to focus on using your assets to move up and get a quarterback, right? And Caleb Williams looked pretty good the other day. So, I mean,
I'm going to stop you right there. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a toxic NFL football player. He's saying publicly that he is willing to sit out of the draft and play another year in college if a team that he doesn't like has the number 1 pick. I don't like that mentality.
Yeah, that is kind of a shit
Little
mentality
toxic
for real.
behavior, Ace, honestly.
And that doesn't fit the hits principle for Eberflus. So, but I'm not worried. You know why I'm not worried? Because Justin Fields is him.
All right. With that being said, guys, we appreciate each and every one of you coming out to join us. We will be back each and every Sunday right here on Out of Hibernation on the Undefeated Sports Network, covering all things Chicago Bears. As you guys saw this afternoon, we will segue and go into some other teams a little bit as well, but we are primarily Bear driven, hence the name Out of Hibernation. We will be back with you each and every Sunday right around that 11 a.m. mark, maybe a little bit earlier if our Bears are playing at noon. We appreciate you guys taking your time today. Be sure to go like, follow, and subscribe. We are on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all the social media platforms. Be sure to go give us that like. It helps the algorithm, helps us get our content out there more. And we will have some interesting guests coming up this season as well. So a lot of good stuff to look forward to coming out of USN here, and a lot of promise for us as Chicago Bears fans, guys. So with that being said, again, we appreciate each and every one of you. Let's have a good day of football and bear down.